Route 66, Route 66. We'll drive around the classic cars, pick up chicks and biker bars. It doesn't matter where we are, as long as we're on Route 66, Route 66.
Hi there, I'm Insane Sam Allen here again, and we're starting the second leg of your first day touring Route 66 in 10 days. Before we get going, you're going to need some directions. There are Route 66 signs all along the way, but I'm telling you, they can be confusing. Without a good set of directions, you're going to get lost. So, if you hadn't already printed out the directions for the first day, go to route66mc.com, go to the right-hand column on the home screen and find Get Directions. Put Romeoville in the Leaving From box and Springfield, Illinois in the Heading To box. Click on Get Directions, and turn-by-turn directions between those two towns are going to pop up. Also, if you like these videos, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button to get notifications of when I post new videos. Okay, here we go. We left the White Fence Farm in Romeoville. The next stop is Joliet. Joliet Hales is the gateway to Route 66 because that's where you get to head across country uninterrupted. Joliet has the Rialto Square Theater that opened the year Route 66 was commissioned. Joliet Prison, where the Blues Brothers of fiction and Leopold and Loeb of reality were incarcerated, and NASCAR Chicagoland Speedway. The first Dairy Queen was in Joliet. But before you get to any of that stuff, you come into Dick's on 66, right here on the outside of Joliet. Dick's has been a towing company here for over 50 years, but the real attraction is Dick himself. Wait till you meet this guy.
Love being out here, talk to people from Germany, China, Japan, all the foreign countries all stop here. We have the motorcycle tours that stop here on Saturdays and Sundays, usually 25 to 30 riders. They get the Harley Club and they ride from Chicago to California. We've had them from Brazil, you name it, any place. They're from all over the world and they all stop here just to say hi to us. We had this magazine show up one day and we're trying to figure out what the heck it was. Whole article about how goofy the owner is, which is me, you know, and what a great time they had being here and what they thought of America and how much more free we were here than in a lot of other countries. They were in our office, they saw the guns and they just thought that was amazing that you could actually have a gun in your office in this country and not have to have a policeman standing there watching you. I enjoy doing this. As I watch one of my drivers drive over a barrel. You know, you hire the handicap, what the hell. They're fun to watch when you're watching work. Rich and Creamy has been there since the 50s. I mean, as a kid, we used to come here. We used to go, you know, come break from school and come down here. So they've been in the 50s or 60s. It has been in the same family, I'm almost positive. It was handed down to the son. He worked there through high school. He's a little bit younger than I am right now, but he still runs the place. You know, I have trouble remembering my three ex-wives' names, let alone trying to remember where the Dairy Queen was at. This is one of the original bricks from Route 66 road. When they replaced all the concrete out here in front, we made sure that we got a pallet of these because they were scrapping them. It's a great little town to live in, but nobody wants to be from here.
A little bit more Route 66 disappears every year. The roadside attractions you're out here to see, they didn't survive because they're classics. They're classics just because they're survived. And let's face it, some of them are just flat out tired. They're over half a century old. But there's still some things that are just as cool as you hope they're going to be. And the Gemini Giant in Wilmington, Illinois is one of them. This 30-foot tall fiberglass colossus was erected next to the Launching Pad restaurant in the early 1960s. A company called International Fiberglass from California made a bunch of similar statues that were painted differently and holding different props depending on the products being advertised. This one was using the space program to promote a restaurant. The Gemini Giant's one of 3 of these statues in Illinois. The Bunyan Giant started life in 1962 holding an axe in front of the Paul Bunyan Cafe in Flagstaff, Arizona. He moved to Cicero in 1965 and traded in his axe for a hot dog when he guarded Bunyan's just down the street from Henry's. The owner of that restaurant sold the real estate in 2003 and agreed to keep the statue on Route 66 by moving it to Atlanta, Illinois, where it stands today. The Louderback Muffler Man in Springfield is supposed to be holding a muffler, but he usually has an American flag. but the Gemini Giant is the coolest of the three. Just look at this guy. He's a combination of the Jolly Green Giant and a Martian. After all, 1960s astronauts weren't green, and they sure didn't have helmets that looked like welding masks.
The launching pad was closed for years, but it's reopened. The Giant has a sporty new paint job. They have a lot of Route 66 memorabilia in there, and they have a first-rate drive-in style food. The chocolate shakes are fantastic. Let's go take a look inside.
Our intent with this wall right here is because of the fact that we have hundreds of people a week coming through from foreign countries all over the world, and then of course for Americans themselves. But what we're doing is we are bringing back nostalgia. We're bringing back information that's out there about movie stars, about rock and roll. We have an original ticket to Woodstock. We have all these neat things that show who Americans really are. And so our point was to showcase this and be able to tell our history. I mean, that's what this is about. And the launching pad was started back in 1965. It was expanded from the Dairy Delight, which was a small little roadside area, like a restaurant for travelers on Route 66. But during the space program with the Gemini missions, they expanded it out, called it the launching pad, and they bought the Gemini Giant. And so people from all over the world and all over the United States have been seeing the Gemini Giant since 1965.
Okay, now I'm going to introduce you to Rex, the freeze-dried dog, down at the Rustic Saloon. It's just down the street from the Gemini Giant. Here's the deal with Rex. When Rex died, the owner of the Rustic Saloon kept him in the restaurant's freezer. When health inspectors would come, he'd hide Rex until the inspection was over. Then back into the freezer Rex would go. Let's meet Rex now.
Rex, my dog, been here for 20-some years.
So Rex is a good boy, huh?
Oh yeah, born in 1993.
He was a hellraiser.
1993, lived for 16 years. Was in the freezer for 2 years and been up on the piano ever since.
Freeze-dried dog.
If you go across the street, he's in that mural across the street.
Roy Rider stuffed the dog. Yeah.
Whoa, Jesus Christ, that scared the shit out of me.
The women love you, huh? Oh, they love that dog.
I visited Rex recently during the great pandemic hoax of 2020, and as you can see, Rex is doing his dogly duty by socially distancing himself and wearing a face mask.
The Polka Dot Drive-In in Braidwood is a 1950s diner with outdoor statues of James Dean, Marilyn Monroe, Elvis, and the Blues Brothers. The wallpaper has old polka dot menus. Hamburgers for 30 cents. Yikes. There's also a 1939 gas station on Route 29. It now houses Lucenta Tire.
The Braidwood Motel is the only decent place to stay in this area. It's not fancy, but the rooms are clean and inexpensive. Better make a reservation, it fills up quickly. Braidwood also has the Corner Keg. They have a great bar in there and the food is good.
Godley and Braceville are the next two towns. They once were boom towns when coal was mined near there. Now they're Deadsville, USA. Gardner has a 1906 two-cell jailhouse. Just follow the signs to get there. Unbelievably, it wasn't closed till the late 1950s. There's an 1880 streetcar that was converted into a diner next to this two-cell jailhouse. It knocked around for several locations in the Gardner area and eventually was moved to the back of the 1926 Riviera restaurant, which was about 2 miles outside of Gardner. The Riviera was a favorite Al Capone hangout because he sold them bootleg liquor. The Riviera also had gambling and prostitution. One thing you're going to find out about old Route 66 places is a lot of them have burned down, and the Riviera flamed out in 2010. These places are like the old joke. Saul and Murray are walking down the street. Saul says, "Hey Murray, sorry to hear your store burned down." Murray says, "Shh, that's not till next week." Okay, this is the end of part 2 of your first day on Route 66. Thanks for viewing this video, and I hope you've enjoyed it. In the next video, you're going to see the first of the big Route 66 museums. You're also going to see a restaurant that was jacked up and turned around when Route 66 changed directions, and a stretch of the original 1926 roadway. You'll also see the Gemini Giant's brother holding a hot dog. But before you go to the next video, do me a couple of favors. First, hit the subscribe button. You're going to get updates and other information you might otherwise miss. Also, please leave your comments on this video.
I'll read all of them and I'll do my best to personally respond.